Ever wonder why we fear vulnerability when it could be our greatest asset? It's a question worth pondering. We often think of vulnerability as a weakness, something to be hidden away and never revealed. From an early age, we're taught to put on a brave face, to hide our fears and doubts, to present a facade of strength and confidence. But what if this societal conditioning is leading us astray? Consider the term vulnerability. It stems from the Latin word vulnerare, which means to wound. It's no wonder we have such a negative connotation associated with it. Who would willingly choose to expose their wounds, their soft spots? Yet there's another side to this coin, one that we often overlook. Vulnerability also implies openness, the capacity to be affected, to be changed. Let me share a personal story. Once upon a time, I found myself in a predicament at work. I was leading a project that was spiraling out of control. Deadlines were missed, the team was demoralized, and I was at my wit's end. Instead of opening up about my struggles, I chose to put on a mask of control and composure. I thought my vulnerability would be seen as incompetence. But you know what happened? The situation worsened. The team felt more disconnected and the project continued to falter. It was only when I finally let down my guard, admitted my struggles, and asked for help that things started to improve. My vulnerability, which I feared would be my downfall, turned out to be my saving grace. It fostered trust, open lines of communication, and rallied the team together. Isn't it paradoxical that we often cause ourselves more harm by hiding our vulnerabilities? By denying our fears and insecurities, we deny ourselves the chance to connect, to grow, to be authentically human. As it turns out, vulnerability might not be the villain we've made it out to be. It might just be a misunderstood virtue, a hidden strength, a pathway to authenticity and connection. And who knows, it might just be your greatest asset in life. Have you ever considered the strength it takes to be vulnerable? It's a question that may seem counterintuitive at first, but let's delve a bit deeper. Vulnerability, in its essence, is about openness, about letting yourself be seen, truly and authentically. It's about peeling back the layers of protection we've built around ourselves, stepping out of our comfort zones and daring to expose our raw, unfiltered selves to the world. Sounds scary, doesn't it? And that's precisely where the power lies. It takes an immense amount of courage to be vulnerable. Because vulnerability isn't about weakness, it's about bravery. It's about having the audacity to be honest, to express our feelings, our fears, our hopes and our dreams, without the fear of judgment or rejection. Let me share a personal story with you. There was a time in my life when I was terrified of public speaking. I would break into a cold sweat at the mere thought of standing in front of a crowd, my voice shaking, my palms sweaty. But then, I decided to embrace my vulnerability. I opened up about my fear, shared it with others, and even laughed about it. And something incredible happened. Instead of being ridiculed or dismissed, I was met with understanding, empathy, and support. People shared their own fears with me, and we bonded over our shared human experiences. This moment of vulnerability didn't merely help me overcome my fear of public speaking. It led to personal growth, to a significant breakthrough in my understanding of myself and others. I realized that by being vulnerable, by showing my true self, I was not only able to connect with others on a deeper level, but also able to embrace and accept myself, imperfections and all. So the next time you find yourself shrinking back, hiding your true feelings or thoughts, remember the power of vulnerability. Remember that it takes courage to be vulnerable, to be authentic. And that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Embracing vulnerability can truly be a game changer. It can open doors to deeper connections, personal growth, and a more authentic, fulfilling life. It's not a sign of weakness, but a testament to our strength, our courage, and our humanity. How do you think vulnerability affects our relationships? This question may seem daunting, but let's delve into it together. Think about your closest relationships. What makes them meaningful? In essence, it's the feeling of being deeply connected with another person. And how do we achieve this deep connection? Believe it or not, it's through vulnerability. Yes, that's right. By letting our guards down and showing our authentic selves, we invite others to do the same. This mutual openness fosters a bond that is both deep and lasting. Vulnerability strengthens not only our personal relationships but our professional ones as well. Picture a work environment where everyone feels safe to share their ideas, even the outlandish ones. A place where mistakes are seen not as failures but as opportunities for growth. Isn't that the kind of place where innovation thrives? This is the power of vulnerability in the professional sphere. But vulnerability isn't just about baring our souls. It's also about being open to the experiences of others. It's about empathizing with their joys and their struggles, celebrating their victories, and comforting them in their defeats. It's about being there for them, not because we have to, but because we want to. And in doing so, we strengthen our bonds with them. Let me share a personal story. I once had a friend with whom I always maintained a surface-level relationship. We'd chat about movies, sports, the weather, but never about anything too personal. One day, I decided to open up about a struggle I was going through. To my surprise, my friend not only listened, but also shared a similar experience. That conversation changed our relationship. We became closer, more understanding, and more supportive of each other. And all it took was a moment of vulnerability. So, it seems that vulnerability isn't something to shy away from. On the contrary, it's something to embrace. It's a bridge that connects us to others. A tool that deepens our relationships. It's the courage to be imperfect, to be human. And what's more human than our desire for connection? Vulnerability, it seems, is the secret ingredient to meaningful relationships. Can we harness vulnerability as a tool for personal growth? This question may seem counterintuitive at first. After all, isn't vulnerability a sign of weakness? But let's take a step back and view it from a different perspective. Imagine you're sailing on an ocean and the waves are your vulnerabilities. Now, you can either choose to fight against these waves, exhausting yourself in the process, or you can learn to ride them, using their force to propel you forward. Acknowledging and accepting your vulnerabilities is like learning to ride the waves. It's not about weakness, but about harnessing a powerful force within you. When we embrace our vulnerabilities, we open ourselves up to learning and growth. It's like saying, yes, I have flaws, yes, I have weaknesses, but I'm not going to let them define me. Instead, I'm going to learn from them and use them to become a better version of myself. Let me share a personal story. I used to be terrified of public speaking. The mere thought of standing in front of a crowd would make my palms sweaty, my heart race, and my mind go blank. But instead of shying away from this fear, I decided to face it head-on. I started by speaking at small gatherings, then moved on to larger ones. I made mistakes, fumbled my words, even embarrassed myself a few times, but each time I learned something new, and each time I improved. Today, I can confidently say that I'm no longer afraid of public speaking. In fact, I've come to enjoy it. This is the power of vulnerability. It's not a sign of weakness, but a catalyst for growth. It's a reminder that we're all human, and that it's okay to make mistakes, to stumble, to fall. Because every fall is an opportunity to get back up, to learn, to grow, and to become a better version of ourselves. So, the next time you feel vulnerable, don't shy away from it. Embrace it. Use it as a tool for personal growth. Because it's through our vulnerabilities that we discover our true strength. It's clear that vulnerability can be a powerful tool in our personal growth journey. So, why is vulnerability your greatest asset in life? That's the question we've been exploring, and now, let's weave together the threads of our discussion. Firstly, we unpacked the misunderstood virtue of vulnerability, debunking the common myth that it's a sign of weakness. Instead, we discovered that vulnerability is an act of courage. It's about having the bravery to reveal your authentic self, warts and all, and standing firm in your truth. Next, we delved into the power that comes from embracing vulnerability. It's not about wallowing in self-pity or airing our dirty laundry. Rather, it's about owning our stories, our mistakes, our fears, and our insecurities. By doing so, we rid them of their power over us, and we pave the way for personal growth and transformation. We also explored the role of vulnerability in relationships. It's the secret ingredient that fosters deeper connections. When we let our guards down and share our true selves with others, we invite them to do the same. This mutual exchange of authenticity can build trust, promote understanding, and create bonds that are both deep and meaningful. And finally, we discussed how vulnerability is a path to self-improvement. By being open about our flaws and failures, we create an opportunity for learning and growth. We allow ourselves the freedom to make mistakes, to learn from them, and to become better versions of ourselves. So to wrap it up, vulnerability is your greatest asset in life because it's the gateway to authenticity, personal growth, deep connections, and self-improvement. It's the key to living a life of courage, truth, and genuine connection. Perhaps it's time we stop fearing vulnerability and start embracing it as the asset it truly is.